Well, for more, I'm joined by Stephen Fish, Professor of Political Science at the University of California, Berkeley. Stephen, it's been a busy 24 hours, to say the least, in Kyiv, at the UN, and in Washington as well. What's your biggest takeaway from what you've seen of these meetings and how they've played out?
Steve, my biggest takeaway is that an event of world historical importance has happened in recent days, and that is the United States has eschewed and abandoned its 80-year tradition of allying with its allies, of treating NATO and its Western alliance as a force multiplier and as something that's good for American foreign policy, good for world peace, and switched to the other side. The United States under Trump is now allying itself with the world's dictators, and specifically in this case with Vladimir Putin. The United States is now treating its allies as adversaries and its sworn adversaries as allies. This was almost unimaginable, of course, prior to Trump. Many Republicans in the United States are also aghast at this. They don't support it. Of course, Democrats don't either. Most Americans are not in favor of this shift, but this is Trump's shift. It's a very different world now.
Stephen, Trump has often been described as an unconventional politician. I'm just wondering, is there an argument to be made, perhaps, that Trump's harsh rhetoric towards Ukraine and President Zelensky, the things that he's been saying, the provocative things that he's been saying, are a part of some form of strategy to try and get the Europeans to do more, to take more responsibility in this conflict?
Well, there's something to that argument, but I think Trump's behavior shows that it goes way beyond that. Trump oftentimes does stake out these kind of crazy positions, his first negotiating positions, in hopes of scaring his negotiating partners into coming around part of the way to what he wants. But what we see going on here is very different, and it goes way, way beyond that. Trump clearly sides with Putin. He has since 2016, when Putin supported Trump for the U.S. presidency, and in fact intervened to help him be elected. Trump has a great deal of affection for Putin. He has very little respect for our traditional allies and alliances. He doesn't think that the leaders of our traditional European allies take him seriously. And remember, for Trump, everything is about himself. So I think this goes far beyond just trying to get, for example, NATO allies to cough up more money for the defense. I think this really represents a switch on the part of the United States government away from protection of its allies and into the autocratic camp.
And do you think European leaders are seeing this and are acting accordingly? We've heard a language to this effect from Germany's chancellor in waiting, if you like, following the Germany election, saying that European countries are going to have to unite and look to sort of protect each other and not be so reliant on the U.S.
We do, and that's absolutely key. And I can understand why many European leaders would simply not be able to believe what we're looking at right now. Most Americans can't believe this either, because this is abandonment of a long-term American tradition of support for its allies. But it does seem that the incoming German chancellor, to some extent, perhaps the French president, do realize now that they're in a different world. No amount of trying to ingratiate themselves with Trump is going to work. And it's very important they realize that. Operationally, then, the important thing is for the Europeans to really get their act together as a security alliance, to somehow manage to protect themselves and their Ukrainian ally against Russia without a great deal of American support. If they're able to do that, that will actually be a terrific blow in favor of European security. It's very important now that European leaders not be under any kind of illusions about what the United States is going to do under Trump. Of course, if a Democrat becomes president, then things will probably change again. But as long as Trump is in office, Europeans cannot rely on the United States security guarantee. That includes Article 5's guarantee that the U.S. will come to European support if they're attacked by Russia.
Stephen, thank you so much for your insight and your thoughts today. Really appreciate you making some time for us. Stephen Fish there, Professor of Political Science at the University of California, Berkeley.